It took a tragic event in the US, one that shook everything I thought I knew, for us to finally say we need to leave.
Breaking news here at noontime. These are live pictures from Sky Eye over Newburyport. A worker remains missing after a violent explosion at a pharmaceutical plant there.
And that moment changed everything, and just a few months after, we were in France. But here's what no one really talks about. The hardest part isn't the move itself, it's what comes after. Hi again, and welcome to part 2. If you're new here in my channel, I'm Precious, and this is my story of starting over. In the first video, I shared why we left US, how we dealt with the French bureaucracy, and what it actually costs to build a new life here in France. So go check that out. If you want to start from the beginning, I will put the link below. In this next chapter, I'm diving into what life was really like after the move. The slow, quiet process of adjusting, learning a new language, navigating loneliness, and wondering in your quietest moments, is this all worth it? So go ahead, make yourself a cup of coffee or tea and get comfy, and let's have an honest conversation about what really happens after the move. I will share the loneliness, the culture shocks, the job hunt, did I find one right away, and how I eventually found my footing here. Because yes, it was so messy, but it was also transformative. So let's get into it. So let's start with the language. In my first few months, I wasn't really fluent. Of course, I could just say only a few words. I could order in French, I could go to a boulangerie, I could say bonjour, that's it. But living your life in a language that isn't yours, that's a different story. Because every phone call gave me anxiety, and going to the appointments, reading government letters, or even just trying to make a small talk at the bakery took so much energy. But that was the first few months. Of course, it was tough at first. I still make mistakes, but I keep showing up. And honestly, after almost 2 years in France, I'm starting to enjoy speaking French. Because fluency doesn't happen overnight. It begins when you stop being afraid of sounding a little silly. And then there's loneliness. No one really talks about that part. Moving abroad can feel incredibly isolating, even if you're not physically alone. I missed having people who just got me, like understanding my jokes. They don't really get my jokes here, or my puns, or maybe I wasn't just really funny. Anyway, making friends here has been really slow. The culture is different, and true friendships take time. But I've started finding my people little by little, and it's really worth the wait. Sorry, by the way, if you are still here watching, and if you find it very helpful, please subscribe on my channel. That will really help me a lot in building more videos like this. Let's go back to the story. As for the culture shock, I didn't really go through the usual kind because I lived in Bangkok for 3 years where I had lots of French friends. We did plenty of French things like going to French restaurants, playing pétanque, watching French films, and we even discussed French politics. Plus, I had visited France a few times before moving permanently here. So I already had a feel for the culture. But what I have noticed so far is how direct people are here. They don't sugarcoat, and they really appreciate it if you're direct back. And that didn't bother me because I prefer that. But for others, it might be a bit off. But here's a funny story, and it happened to me recently. And it perfectly shows how direct French people can be. I went into a boulangerie, it's a bakery, and I asked for a baguette bien cuit, which is well done, a crispier version of baguette, if you will. And the baker handed it over, and I said, because I was really happy that I got it, I was just hungry, And I said, Merci, j'adore comme ils sont chrétiens. Without missing a beat, she goes, Yes, you foreigners, you always like the burnt ones. And then she just rang me up like nothing happened. And that kind of blunt French honesty is classic French. The thing is, they really value honesty even if it feels like a little blunt by other cultural standards. For the French, it's not rude, it's just real. Those first few months might be overwhelming or maybe a bit meh, but honestly, I wouldn't trade this experience for anything. So, did I find a job right away? Yes, I got a job teaching English at a Montessori school in Paris. Because after years of rushing, always working in a corporate world, and I used to be a journalist in the Philippines for 5 years, I felt that I needed something different. I wanted to focus on learning French. And honestly, what's a better way than with kids, right? So moving here permitted me to slow down, and I didn't even know that I needed that. My days now feel softer, mornings are slower, I walk more, I cook, I hear birds. Life is so simple here, but there's peace in that. Of course, I still feel stress, like in my personal life, the French bureaucracy, but now it's really different. Now that I moved here, I feel less pressure to perform. I have more space to be human, and I don't crave those work titles anymore. Now I prioritize my health, my well-being, relationships, my marriage, and very important thing is myself. So yeah, I feel happier here. Let's talk about the salary. Yes, it's true. In many industries, you do earn less here in France than in the US. But honestly, the lifestyle, the work balance, and benefits, they totally change the game. Because here in France, you get at least 25 paid vacation days, and some companies even offer 30 days, and that's not even counting public holidays. I know, it's crazy. When I learned about it, I was like, wow, the French really know how to holiday. And maybe I want to join them too. But kidding aside. So if you're curious about salaries in France or what they look like across different jobs, or if you want to know how to find a job here, I can definitely do a deeper dive in a separate video. Just let me know in the comment section below. So the big question is, was it worth it? Emotionally, yes. This move helped me reconnect with myself, and being far from everything familiar forces me to go inward. I don't know if that makes sense, but I've cried here, I've healed here, I've grown, and I've felt much stronger than before. And financially, we're still figuring things out, but we're learning to budget better and live more intentionally. And I think that's what's more important. Relationship-wise, absolutely. Moving abroad with your partner feels like it's just you two against the world. You argue, you laugh, and you figure things out together. And it really builds a deep, lasting friendship. France is so beautiful and I genuinely love it here, but it's also complex, slow, and honestly, it's pretty humbling. You'll need to have patience, grit, and a strong reason to keep going. So if you're thinking about moving here, I think my one piece of advice is to learn some French, even just the basics. Don't worry, I'm still in the basic part, so just keep going and don't expect everything to fall into place overnight because this kind of fresh start takes time. As a foreigner living in France, I've noticed a lot of people asking about places to live or to retire here. It just so happens that we recently moved to a region often ranked among the best places to live in France. If you want to find out where, I'll be sharing a detailed, honest review very soon, so stay tuned. And please don't forget to subscribe for more videos like this, and I'll see you in the next one.